Good day everyone and welcome to Learn English with Blaine. And in this video we are going to discuss the simple present. We are going to discuss the formation of the simple present. So the question is, how do we form the simple present? Normally it looks like this, and this is for what we call regular verbs, which means for most verbs we would say I speak English, you speak English, he speaks English, she speaks English, it speaks English, they speak English, and you speak English. So notice for these ones, for he, she, and it, this is what we call third person singular. Third person singular. So for these subjects, we are going to put the S right there, right? So notice the S on he, she, and it. Now again, for regular verbs, we have I speak, you speak, he speaks, she speaks, it speaks, we speak, they speak, you speak. And again, notice the S that's used for these three, which are called third person singular. So just as a review, remember that when we use I, when you are talking about yourself, it's called first person singular. When you are speaking to one other person, it's called second person singular. Now, when we are talking about somebody else, one other person is called third person singular. So again, he, she, and it is what we call third person singular. And then just to finish off, we've got first person plural is we. Third person plural is they. And then first person plural is you. So you speak English. You speak English. This one is what we call second person singular. This is if you are speaking to one person and you call them you. The last one is if we are talking to more than one person. And so in that case, it's called first plural. Sorry, I'm just going to change this. There's a slight mistake here. This is actually second person plural. I'm just going to go back here. So we've got second person singular, second person plural. But don't worry too much about these. In another video soon, I'll be talking more about these. So what we are talking about today is simply how to form the simple present. So here are some other examples. I live in Manitoba. You exercise every morning. He runs at night. She makes breakfast. It drinks a lot of water. We work hard. They speak Spanish. You cook delicious spaghetti. Again, notice for these three, for he, she, and it, notice the S on the verbs, right? And that's how it is. And that's what we call third person singular. Notice the S on those verbs. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we are going to look at some irregular forms. And we're going to look at 5 different groups. Group number 1 are verbs that end in CH, SH, S, X, or Z. Now, for these forms, when we are talking about the third person singular, okay? So all of these rules are only for he, she, or it, what we call third person singular. This is how they would look. She watches TV for 2 hours every night. John usually washes his car on Sunday. She expresses her anger in strange ways. He boxes at the local gym every Thursday. My neck spazzes in the morning. Now, here we have a verb, spaz, S-P-A-Z. Very often, for this verb, you add the es, but you also add another z when it's a vowel and a consonant. So this verb is spelled S-P-A-Z, but if you've got very often, if you've got a vowel and then a z, you're going to add another z and then add the es. Again, if you have any questions about this, leave that question in the comment section and I'll be glad to address that question. Okay, so this is group number 1, and it's these verbs that end in these last endings, and that is again for watch, wash, expressives, box, and spaz. Let's go to group number 2. Group number 2 are verbs, verbs that end in a consonant and then y. Some of these include verbs like study, hurry, dry, pry, and try. So in these cases, we have a consonant such as D, R, and then Y. For these ones, we're going to change the Y to I and then add ES. So for example, he studies very hard. Marta usually hurries home after church. John usually dries the dishes. If I can't open the door, my brother pries it open. She always tries to beat her brother in a race. So again, all of these words end in a consonant and then a Y, right? So what we did here was we took off the Y and then we added the ES. And that's for verbs such as these. There's many other examples, but this is just a few of those examples right there. And again, this is only for third person singular. Normally, normally we'll just say the verb. So we would say, I study very hard. I study very hard. But he, she, it studies very hard. And so on. Group number 3, irregular forms. And there's just a couple here. This is a few verbs that end in O. And two examples are go and do. In these cases, for the third person singular, simply added es. She goes to church on Saturday. What does he do for a living? So here we have go and do, and we added an es on both of these. And this is goes and does. Okay, let's go to group number 4. The verb to have. In that case, for third person singular, the verb changes from have to has. So for example, she has a good job and my dad has a nice car. So whenever we are using he or she or it, we are going to, it's going to become has. Now remember, one thing to note is when we talk about a subject like my dad, it's the same as he. And for example, if we say she could be the same as my sister or my mother, right? So we can say my sister, my mother, or she. We can say my brother, my dad, or he. So we can say my dad, my sister, my brother, or we can just say he instead. Again, if you have any questions about that point, leave your question or your comment in the comment section and I can address it. Okay, group number 5 is the verb to be. And the third person form of this verb is. My sister is very tall. My new job is so much fun. Mexico is a beautiful country. So normally we would say I am, you are, but when we are talking about he or she or it, it's going to be is for each of these. Okay, let's take a quick quiz. And what we are going to do here is you can get a paper and you can write the answers because I'm going to give you a quiz and then I will show you the correct answer. Okay, so for example, he usually pass his math tests. He usually blank his math tests. Okay, so what form of pass would we use here? We would say he usually passes his math tests. He usually passes his math tests. So we would say, for example, I usually pass, we usually pass, they usually pass. But again, for he or she or it, we're going to say he usually passes his math tests. Okay, let's go on to number 2. My friend always go to the library after school. My friend always go to the library after school. For number 2, we would say goes. My friend always goes to the library after school. And again, it's a verb ending in O, so we're going to add an ES at the end. Number 3, Maria dry her hair with a blow dryer. Maria dry her hair with a blow dryer. And the answer to that one is dries, right? Because when those we've got a consonant and then Y, we're going to change the Y to I, and then we're going to add an ES right there. Again, only for he or she or it will we do that. Number 4, that bird whiz by the window every morning. Now the word whiz is a word that means to move very fast. To move very fast is the verb whiz. Okay, so what can we say here? Well, we're going to say whizzes again because we have a vowel and then a Z. We're going to add another Z and then add the ES. And remember, a bird is an animal, so the word would really be, so we can say it whizzes by the window, or we can say that bird whizzes by the window every morning. Okay, let's go on to number 5. My neighbor for a new summer job every May. So what would we do here? My neighbor. So my neighbor, if it's a woman, we would say she, or if it's a man, we would say he. So we can say my neighbor or he or she, depending on the context. And for this one, yeah, we're going to say applies. Because remember we had a Y, we had a consonant Y. So we're going to change the Y to I, and then we're going to add the ES at the end. Okay, let's go on to number 6. That big boy bully the other children. So bully, this is one of those words that can be a noun or it can be a verb. And this word as a verb means to push around other children, beat them up. In other words, be very mean to other children. And for this one, yes, we would say bullies, changing the Y to I, and then adding ES again. So we're going to move on to number 7. We actually have 20 of these examples. She always catch the ball when I throw it to her. She always catch the ball when I throw it to her. And for that one, we're going to say she always catches the ball when I throw it to her. And again, because we have this verb that ends in CH, we're going to add an es at the very end. Okay, let's move on to number 8. My teacher sometimes clarify the math problems before the test. So this word clarify means to explain, Okay, so what would we say for this one? Well, for this example, we are going to again change the y to an I and add es because it's a verb that has a consonant and then a y. Okay, number 9. My apartment building have a new intercom system. My apartment building have a new intercom system. So normally we can say I have, you have, we have, they have. But remember, my apartment building is actually an it. So we are going to say my apartment building has a new intercom system. Okay, let's go to number 10. My soda fizz when I shake it. The soda fizz when I shake it. So here we have a verb ending in Z. Now, when we say fizz, it means that it bubbles. So we can see bubbles. So if you have a soda, imagine if you had a can of Coke and you shake it. When you open it up, it's going to bubble. It's going to fizz. And for that one, fizzes. We're simply going to add the es at the end of the verb. Okay, we're going to go on to number 11. That bird often fly by the window. That bird often fly by the window. Okay, again, remember, we have a consonant and then a y. So what's the rule? What's the rule? The rule is we're going to change the y to I, and then we're going to add the es at the end. Okay, let's go on to number 12. Her voice, this is an error. I'm just going to take off the s. We only have one voice, right? So her voice echo when she sings in church. Her voice echo when she sings in church. So here we've got a verb that ends in O, right? So do you remember the rule? Do you remember that rule? Remember that whenever it ends in O, you're going to add an es at the end. So if it ends in O, we're going to add an es. And again, I'm just going to take off the s. So we're going to see that it is her voice echoes when she sings in church. Okay, again, remember everyone, if you've got any questions, leave those comments or your questions in the comment section below. And please let me know if this video is a help for you or not. If I'm going too slow or too fast, let me know in the comment section as well. Okay, number 13. Your son misses you every time you go to work. Your son misses you every time you go to work. Okay, here we have a verb that ends in an s, right? And do you remember the rule is that we're simply going to add an es on the end. So we can say your son misses you every time you go to work. So you would say, I miss you, we miss you, they miss you, we miss you. But we would say he or she or it misses you. Okay, let's go on to number 14. Our teacher quiz us every Friday. Our teacher quiz us every Friday. Now remember, our teacher we can say our teacher. But if we use the pronoun, we can say he or she, right? He or she. So what do? It ends in a Z. So in that case, we are going to add another Z and add an ES. So it's a remember it's a vowel and then a Z. I'm going to add another Z and add an ES at the very end. Okay, let's go on to number 15. Roberta often guess the right answer. Roberta often guess the right answer. Okay, so again, here we have a verb that ends in an S. And again, the rule is that we are going to add an ES on the end. Again, for that one. Okay, let's go to number 16. Number 16. I think your son watched too much TV. So we can say, remember we can say, I watch too much TV. You watch too much TV. They watch. But I think your son, that's a he. So we can say, I think your son, or I think he watches too much TV. It's a CH verb. So we're going to add an ES at the very end. Okay, let's go to number 17. Your house to be beautiful. So this is the verb to be, right, which is a very irregular form. So the verb to be in third person singular is. So we would simply say your house is beautiful. And that's the verb. That is the verb to be in the third person singular. Okay, number 18. It splash water every time it leaves the water. It splash water every time. You know what? I'm going to change this. Instead of saying water, because we're repeating the same word, we're going to say pool, right? That would make more sense. So we can say it splashed water every time it leaves the pool. Now remember, when we use the word it, we're usually talking about an animal of some kind. Although very often for animals, we will also use he or she as well. But whenever we're using it, it's not going to be for a person. Okay, so we can say it splashes water every time it leaves. So I'm just going to add pool here again. So again, we can say it splashes water every time it leaves the pool. And this would usually be a dog, for example, if it was in a pool, and we can say it splashes water. Okay, let's go on to number 19. Number 19. My grandmother undergo this medical procedure every so often. My grandmother undergo this medical procedure every so often. So we will say instead of that, remember, this is like the verb to go. It ends in O. So we will say my grandmother undergoes this medical procedure every so often. Okay, everyone, I hope you've been enjoying this video and that it's been helpful. We have one more to go, and that is number 20. That boy really try hard. Now, is that correct? Now we can say I really try hard. We really try hard. But remember that boy is a he, right? So we are going to say that boy really tries hard. That boy really tries hard. Okay, everyone, I hope that brings us to the end of the video. I hope that it was very, very helpful for you. So I want to thank all of you for watching the video. Remember, if you like the video, please remember to share, like, and subscribe. And remember, my schedule is that on Sundays we'll be doing idioms. On Monday is a beginner dictation. Wednesday is intermediate dictation. And Friday is advanced dictation. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comment section below. Okay, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. And have a great day. Thank you.